Aircraft carriers don't maneuver. That's not quite true, of course. A 100,000-ton warship can turn. It can accelerate. It can change course. But it takes time, a lot of time. A carrier executing an emergency turn needs nearly a mile of ocean just to complete the maneuver. At flank speed, the turn takes almost 3 minutes. 3 minutes is an eternity when missiles are inbound. On February 16, 2026, the USS Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group executed emergency combat maneuvers in the Gulf of Oman. Not a drill, not an exercise. 12 Iranian missiles were screaming toward them at Mach 2. Welcome to Global Warfare TV. This is the story of the largest missile attack against an American carrier strike group since World War II, and the desperate maneuvers that saved 7,000 American lives. 9:23 hours local time, Gulf of Oman, 180 nautical miles south of Bandar Abbas. The Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group was conducting routine flight operations. F/A-18E Super Hornets were launching from the deck. E-2D Hawkeyes were airborne, providing early warning coverage. The strike group consisted of 7 ships: the carrier herself, 2 Ticonderoga-class cruisers, 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, and 1 fast combat support ship. Over 7,000 American sailors, $25 billion in hardware, the most powerful conventional military force on Earth. At 0917, the E-2D Hawkeye designated Overwatch detected the first launch signature, then another, then 10 more. 12 ballistic missiles lifting off from mobile launchers near Shiraz, 340 miles to the north. Flight time to the carrier strike group, 6 minutes and 42 seconds. What would you do if you had less than 7 minutes to stop 12 incoming ballistic missiles? Comment your answer below. Rear Admiral Kearney, the strike group commander, was in the carrier's Combat Direction Center when the warning came in. His staff had trained for this scenario. They had simulated it dozens of times. But simulations don't create the adrenaline spike of real incoming fire. Kearney issued orders with practiced calm. All ships, this is Roosevelt Actual. Execute Case 3 defensive posture. Weapons free for ballistic missile defense. All hands brace for combat operations. Across 7 ships, thousands of sailors rushed to battle stations. The Aegis cruisers and destroyers began calculating intercept solutions. Their SM-3 Block 2A missiles were specifically designed for this moment, stopping ballistic missiles before they could reach their targets. But there was a problem. The strike group's SM-3 inventory was limited. Each ship carried only 8 to 12 of the specialized interceptors. Total inventory across the task force, 47 SM-3 missiles. Against 12 incoming threats, that should have been plenty. Except the math wasn't that simple. If you're following this tactical breakdown, hit that subscribe button. Global Warfare TV delivers the analysis that matters. Ballistic missile defense isn't one shot, one kill. SM-3 has approximately a 70% probability of intercept against modern ballistic missiles. That means for every threat, you need to fire 2 interceptors to achieve an acceptable kill probability. 12 targets times 2 interceptors equals 24 missiles required. The task force had 47. Plenty of margin, unless something goes wrong. At 0919, something went wrong. The USS Bunker Hill, a Ticonderoga-class cruiser positioned on the strike group's northern flank, reported a critical malfunction. Her forward VLS cells were showing a fire suppression fault. The system had automatically locked out 32 cells, including 8 loaded with SM-3 interceptors. The cause was later traced to a faulty sensor that detected non-existent heat in the launch bay. A $50 component had taken 8 interceptors offline at the worst possible moment. Available SM-3 inventory dropped from 47 to 39. Still manageable, but the margin was shrinking. At 0920, the first wave of interceptors launched. The USS Shiloh fired 4 SM-3 missiles at the lead Iranian warheads. The USS Curtis Wilbur fired 4 more. The USS John Paul Jones fired 6. 14 interceptors racing toward 12 targets. The intercepts began at 0924 at an altitude of 87 nautical miles above the Earth's surface. First intercept, kill. Second intercept, kill. Third intercept, miss. The SM-3's kill vehicle failed to achieve terminal lock. Fourth intercept, kill. Support Global Warfare TV by hitting that thumbs up if this analysis is teaching you something. Within 90 seconds, 9 of the 14 interceptors had reached their targets. Results: 8 kills, 1 miss. 5 missiles fired at targets already destroyed by other interceptors. 4 Iranian warheads remained. Flight time to impact, 2 minutes, 17 seconds. This is where Admiral Kearney made the decision that would be analyzed in war colleges for decades. He had 2 options. Option 1, fire another wave of SM-3 interceptors at the remaining threats. With 25 missiles still available across the task force, he could achieve reasonable intercept probability. He chose option 2. All ships, emergency dispersal. Execute now. Roosevelt, all ahead flank, come right to 270. What would you have done? Fire everything you had, or spread out and divide the risk? Tell me in the comments. A carrier strike group in tight formation is efficient for defense. Ships can provide overlapping coverage. Weapons systems complement each other. But a carrier strike group in tight formation is also a concentrated target. One missile getting through could damage multiple ships. Emergency dispersal sacrifices some defensive coordination for survivability. The Roosevelt heeled into her turn. 100,000 tons of steel carving through the Gulf of Oman at 32 knots. The escorts scattered outward, each taking a different bearing. Simultaneously, the remaining Aegis ships fired their second wave. The Curtis Wilbur launched 4 SM-3s. The John Paul Jones launched 4 more. The Roosevelt herself launched 2 from her own VLS cells. 10 interceptors against 4 remaining threats. The intercepts occurred at 0926. 3 kills, 1 miss. 1 Iranian warhead remained. It was tracking the Theodore Roosevelt. Flight time to impact, 47 seconds. This is when everything shifts from strategic decisions to raw physics. The carrier was mid-turn. Her defensive systems were engaging, but the SM-3s were designed for high-altitude intercepts. This warhead was already in terminal phase, screaming down from 40 kilometers at Mach 6. Different threat, different weapon required. The SM-6 Dual-2 missile can engage targets in terminal phase. The Roosevelt carried 24 of them. 4 launched in rapid succession. The first SM-6 intercepted at 12 nautical miles altitude. Kill. The warhead disintegrated, its fragments scattering across hundreds of square miles of ocean. No impact, no casualties. Total engagement time, 9 minutes 34 seconds. 12 missiles launched by Iran. 11 destroyed at high altitude. 1 destroyed in terminal phase. 0 hits on American vessels. The crew of the Theodore Roosevelt erupted in cheers that could be heard 3 decks away. But Admiral Kearney didn't celebrate. He knew they'd gotten lucky. According to the after-action analysis, the engagement had exposed multiple vulnerabilities. The faulty sensor on the Bunker Hill had reduced intercept capacity by 17% at a critical moment. If more ships had experienced similar malfunctions, the outcome could have been different. The initial salvo allocation was inefficient. 5 interceptors were wasted on targets already destroyed. And the emergency dispersal maneuver, while ultimately successful, had momentarily degraded the task force's defensive coordination. If Iran had launched 20 missiles instead of 12, some would have gotten through. The Navy implemented immediate changes. Redundant interceptor allocation algorithms were updated to prevent overkill on already engaged targets. And training for emergency dispersal maneuvers became mandatory for all carrier strike groups. The political aftermath was equally significant. President Mitchell authorized retaliatory strikes within 12 hours. 24 Tomahawk cruise missiles destroyed the mobile launcher sites near Shiraz. An additional strike eliminated an IRGC command bunker suspected of coordinating the attack. Estimated Iranian casualties, 47. Iran protested to the United Nations. They called it American aggression against defensive military assets. The Security Council deadlocked. Russia and China blocked any condemnation of Iran. The U.S. blocked any condemnation of American retaliation. Diplomatic stalemate. But the military situation had changed. Iran had proven it could launch a coordinated salvo attack against an American carrier group. America had proven it could stop such an attack. Both nations had demonstrated capability. Neither had achieved decisive advantage. The question now, what happens next time? Iranian planners are studying the engagement. They're analyzing intercept rates. They're calculating how many missiles it takes to guarantee penetration. The answer, according to most estimates, somewhere between 30 and 50 simultaneous launches. Iran's ballistic missile inventory exceeds 3,000. They can afford to try again. The Theodore Roosevelt returned to port 2 weeks later. Her crew received combat action ribbons. Admiral Kearney was promoted. But everyone who served that day knows the truth. 12 missiles, 9 minutes, one faulty sensor away from catastrophe. The Persian Gulf remains the most dangerous place for American naval forces to operate. And the next salvo could be 3 times larger. Stay vigilant, stay informed. I'll see you in the next one.